In this video, I'll be doing something new, an art study. I feel like we all can benefit from examining other artists' art styles. If we learn what makes their art so unique, we can take away something from that and maybe implement it in our own art. And then maybe, who am I kidding? This video is super easy to film and edit, and that's why I'm doing it. Moving on. The artist we will study today is Samdoesart. Now, if you are a big part of the art community, especially the digital art community, you will know Sam. He's extremely popular, jealous, and he's very skilled. Sam, if you're watching this, I expect to be paid appropriately for my services, because essentially this video is free marketing. That being said, let's get into this. So I'm stalking Sam's Insta portfolio, and the first thing I notice is the simplicity in his brushstrokes. And what I mean by that is he doesn't spend much time on any particular part of a painting. Let's look at this, for example. This painting of this knight and this lady wrapping her arms around the knight, this fallen angel, is very elegant, very beautiful. And as a whole, it seems so, I don't know, it's just so good. It's so good. I'm low-key jealous. But yeah, if you look at this, if you zoom in on, let's say, the flowers, the grass, if you look at it, it just looks like a bunch of random brush strokes. They're all going in the same direction, which is upward. But if you look at the individual strokes, they look like dots, random lines. There's not even any gradients on each individual stroke or anything. They're just there. But because there's so many variations in colors in each different stroke and different line variety, we can tell it's still grass, and that's something you should strive for in your art. At least something I admire, the fact that you can convey something so beautifully, yet when you look at it in its individuality, it seems almost like abstract art. And moving on from that, what I noticed Sam does is he has like two distinct styles. He has this style here, which is very more, I would say, more like semi-realistic compared to his other stuff. And he has the style, it's almost like Disney inspired a little bit, like this. And I can admire both. Let's break down the Disney style first, because I think it's a little easier to digest what we're seeing happening here. Now here, it's very simple, very simplistic. Basic colors, basic shading. The colors are very flat on the skin, except for, well, obviously the shadows. But in the shadows are also simple in and of itself. You don't see detailed anatomy, very complex shading and complex lighting scenarios. It's very simple. And what I notice about what he does in his shadows is that he puts a very, very saturated underglow in his shadows. Like if we look underneath the jaw here, it's a very bright orange. Or by the leg here, it's a very bright orange. And that I can appreciate. It makes it pop, it makes it more vibrant and much prettier. It doesn't look dull and dreary, although the background is great. Now, if we take our attention away from the skin per se, like the actual skin itself, and look at the line art of the piece, we can see that he doesn't pay attention per se to keep staying inside the line. You know, when people think of like art, they think of coloring inside the line, which isn't necessary. Yeah, not to say that his artwork is any worse for not going in the lines, but if we zoom in by like the calf or the shin here, we see that he has the dark red line art, and you can see that he didn't color in the lines. Like there's a little bit coming out, and I think that's good, especially for digital art. Traditional art you could get away with it, but digital art makes it seem less computer generated and more like someone made it in a way, with these little small things. And it's not bad. I'm not knocking Samdoesart's art style for doing this. As a matter of fact, I actually appraise it because it means that he's very confident in his lines, the paint strokes, the brush strokes that he puts down, and he doesn't care about staying in the line. And I can respect that, because me, on the other hand, 1 pixel out of the line, I try to shade it, I try to get rid of it, I try to fix it. But if we also look here at the calendar, we see the black line from the calendar intersecting with the leg. Another example of what I was saying earlier. And yeah, it doesn't take itself very seriously, yet it still looks so aesthetic. aesthetic. It looks very beautiful, and yeah, I like colors he uses too, like the shadow colors, not just the bright saturated orange I was talking about, but it's like a cool gray, and the cool gray shadows contrast with the saturated underglow, which I also think is a nice touch. More onto his complicated style, something like this. This is magnificent, like nothing short of beautiful. This is amazing. I actually have no words. Well, I have plenty words, but you get what I mean. With a style like this, it's still very stylized. It still doesn't look like hyper-realism. The face is still very stylized. It kind of reminds me of like those Chinese masters, or like those Korean masters, like the Grand Masters, like Gu Wei's and Wallop and people like them. And it's very, very, very detailed. Very detailed. If we look at the roof itself, we can see intricate brushstrokes on the ceiling conveying pattern. Once again, showing that when you zoom out, it looks like the roof pattern. When you zoom in, it looks like an abstract art piece. If we look at the face is a very desaturated shadow. The reason the face is a desaturated shadow because the hallway itself is very desaturated. The only bright light we see is coming from the windows to the right, well, to their left, but to our right. The room itself is very gray and dull, and the shadow often emulates that. So if you look at the shadow on the side of the cheek, very desaturated gray. I love the way Sam paints metal to it, mainly because it's more of the same thing. This is a point I'm really trying to hit home, like nail into the coffin, that you don't have to focus on the brushstrokes being perfect. Just be confident in where you put them, because when you put them where you want to put them, they're the right color, it will look how you want it to look. You don't have to zoom in and make sure every pixel is aligned, because if we look at the metal armor, if we look at the sword, if we look at the I guess gauntlet, if we look at the ornaments in her hair, if we look at the headpiece, it's all beautiful when you look at it as a whole. But when you zoom into each individual part, it looks like a bunch of random brush strokes kind of just dotted around. Same thing with the railing, yeah. And in this one in particular, he actually has a process step by step on how he did it. So we see the sketch and we see he blocked in the basic values first, still not taking it too seriously. If we look at the hand, you can barely tell it's even a hand. It is like, well, what is this at this point? And then we see the original color, like the first set of color. If we look at the railing in the first and second, if we look at the railing in the second and the third step, we see that it's actually still the same color. He didn't add any value to that. He only added value to where the light is, so in the face and parts of the armor and the hand and sword, and a little bit in the background. Then we see the zoomed in, and we see where he added all the fine details, all the extra pizzazz that makes it good. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier actually is that he puts colors from his environment in his piece. So we can see there's some blues in the metal, mainly because, well, the drapery that she has on is blue and will reflect the color of that. And we have some dark oranges because the light is orange. When it hits the ground or any other surface and bounces back, it's going to reflect in the metal as the color of that surface, which is orange. So yeah, this is the art of Samdoesart, and I hope we can all appreciate it and look at this and learn something from it. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye.